A Burberry trench coat costs $1,790. The gabardine is woven in Castleford, England. The buttons are horn. The lining is checked cotton. The construction is the same double-breasted, storm-shielded silhouette Thomas Burberry patented in 1912. 113 years of continuous production on the same garment. Now pick up a Dior trench coat, $2,900. The fabric is cotton twill manufactured in Italy. The construction is clean but simplified. No storm shield, no gun flap, no throat latch. The details that defined a trench coat for a century have been removed to create a minimalist silhouette that photographs well on a runway and performs worse in rain than a coat half its price. 10 luxury brands sell trench coats. Most of them are selling you the idea of a trench coat, not the engineering that made it one. This video disassembles all 10. Only 3 survived. The trench coat was not invented by a fashion house. It was invented by a problem. British officers in the First World War needed a waterproof coat that allowed movement in trenches flooded with mud and rain. Thomas Burberry had already patented gabardine in 1879, a tightly woven cotton fabric treated with lanolin before spinning, making the yarn itself water-resistant rather than coating the finished cloth. The original trench coat had a specific set of functional elements. The storm shield across the right shoulder deflected rain away from the rifle stock. The gun flap on the chest provided a second layer of waterproofing over the heart. The D-rings on the belt originally held grenades and map cases. The throat latch closed the collar against wind. The epaulettes held gloves or rank insignia. Every element served a purpose. None of it was decorative. When you pay $2,000 for a modern luxury trench coat, the question is not whether it looks like a trench coat. The question is how many of those functional elements survived the transition from battlefield engineering to fashion merchandising. For most brands on this list, the answer is almost none. Starting at the bottom. Versace sells a trench coat for $3,200. The fabric is a cotton viscose blend. Viscose is a semi-synthetic fiber made from dissolved wood pulp. It drapes beautifully. It also absorbs water, loses structural integrity when wet, and wrinkles aggressively under humidity. A trench coat made with viscose in the shell fabric is a trench coat designed for a photo shoot, not for weather. The construction lacks a storm shield, a gun flap, and a throat latch. The Medusa hardware is prominent. The silhouette is dramatic. At $3,200, you are buying a Versace coat that looks like a trench and performs like a light jacket. The logo is doing all the structural work that the missing components are not. Dior, $2,900. Christian Dior revolutionized women's fashion in 1947 with the new look. That revolution had nothing to do with trench coats. Dior's trench is a fashion house interpretation of a military garment designed by a team whose expertise is couture, not outerwear engineering. The cotton twill is Italian. The construction is single-breasted on most models. The storm shield is absent. The belt is decorative, not load-bearing. The price places Dior in the same bracket as Burberry's Heritage line, which delivers gabardine, a storm shield, horn buttons, and over a century of trench-specific construction knowledge. At the same price, one brand built the trench coat. The other borrowed its shape. Prada, $2,500 to $3,000. This is the same pattern we identified in our shoe analysis. Prada acquired a heritage brand that does something better than Prada. Does it, and continues to sell its own inferior version at a higher price. Prada's trench coats are manufactured in Italy with clean, minimalist construction. The fabric is typically a nylon-cotton blend, or re-nylon, Prada's recycled nylon fabric. Re-nylon is a sustainability initiative, not a performance textile. It is lighter than gabardine, less structured, and does not develop the patina that a waxed or lanolin-treated cotton develops over decades of wear. The coat is well made. It is not a well-made trench coat. It is a well-made Prada coat in the shape of one. Saint Laurent, $2,800. The fabric is cotton gabardine, which places it closer to the original specification than most fashion houses. But the construction strips the trench down to its most minimal form. No epaulettes on several models. No gun flap. The belt is narrow and styled, not functional. The silhouette is slim and elongated, designed for the Saint Laurent aesthetic rather than the garment's original engineering brief. At $2,800, the gabardine is a genuine point in Saint Laurent's favor. The construction gives some of it back. You're paying for a fashion gabardine coat, not a trench coat in the engineering sense. Ralph Lauren. The mainline purple label trench retails for $2,400 to $3,500. The fabric is Italian cotton. The construction is solid. Ralph Lauren understands American aspiration better than almost any brand alive. And the purple label trench looks exactly like what a wealthy American believes a trench coat should look like. But the manufacturing is Italian, not English. The design heritage is aspirational, not functional. Ralph Lauren did not invent or refine the trench coat. He merchandised it. At this price, the coat is beautifully made, but the premium is paying for the Ralph Lauren lifestyle narrative, not for a century of outerwear-specific engineering. Max Mara, $1,900 to $2,800. Max Mara's reputation is built on coats. The Italian house has been manufacturing outerwear since 1951, and their wool coats are genuinely excellent. But their trench coat is a different proposition. The fabric is often a cotton polyester blend on the mainline pieces. Polyester in a trench coat shell reduces breathability and changes the drape from the structured fall of gabardine to the slicker feel of a synthetic blend. Max Mara knows how to build a coat. Their trench coat is a coat in a trench silhouette, priced at the upper end of what the materials justify. The wool coats are where the expertise lives. The trench is where the brand recognition earns a margin it has not fully earned through construction. Coach, $950 to $1,500. Coach is a leather goods company. Bags, wallets, accessories. Their trench coats are a product extension, not a craft specialization. The fabric is standard cotton or cotton poly. The construction is clean but unremarkable. At $1,000, Coach delivers a competent coat that any number of non-luxury brands deliver at half the price. The price is the Coach logo on the interior label and the brand's position in the accessible luxury tier. The trench coat itself does not justify the premium over a brand that has spent its entire existence building outerwear. Those are 7 brands charging fashion prices for a garment that was engineered, not designed. The trench coat is not a canvas for creative interpretation. It is a system of waterproofing, wind protection, and structural reinforcement developed over a century of real-world testing. When a fashion house removes the storm shield, replaces the gabardine with viscose, and charges $3,000, it is selling the silhouette and deleting the engineering. If you have bought any of these coats, or if you are about to, the pinned comment on this video has the complete checklist. The 4 construction details to check before spending over $1,000 on any trench coat: the fabric composition test, the storm shield check, the button material inspection, and the seam construction evaluation. 4 details, 30 seconds in a fitting room. The difference between a $2,000 coat worth $2,000 and a $2,000 coat worth $400. 3 brands survived the disassembly, starting with the one that invented it, Burberry. The Heritage Trench Coat, $1,790 to $2,600. Gabardine woven in Castleford, Yorkshire, the same mill town where Burberry has produced this fabric for over a century. The gabardine is a 6733 cotton polyester weave on the current Heritage line, tightly woven to a thread density that repels water without requiring a membrane or chemical coating. Horn buttons, cotton check lining, storm shield, gun flap, throat latch, epaulets, D-ring belt. Every functional element from the original 1912 patent is present. The coat is still cut in Castleford and assembled in England. This is not Heritage marketing. This is Heritage manufacturing. The same garment, the same fabric source, the same factory town. At this price, Burberry is the baseline. Every other brand on this list is being measured against what Burberry delivers because Burberry defined what a trench coat is. The only question for every competitor is how much of the original engineering they kept and how much they replaced with a logo. Aquascutum, founded in 1851 on Regent Street, London. The name is Latin for water shield. John Amory, the founder, patented a process for waterproofing wool in 1853. 15 years before Thomas Burberry patented gabardine, Aquascutum supplied trench coats to British officers in the Crimean War and both World Wars. Winston Churchill wore Aquascutum, so did Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca. The brand has had a turbulent corporate history, changing ownership multiple times, including acquisition by a Hong Kong-based group. But the trench coat itself remains faithful to its construction origins. The fabric is proprietary waterproof cotton. The construction includes the full complement of functional trench elements. The pricing sits between $1,000 and $1,800, undercutting Burberry by several hundred while delivering comparable heritage and construction. Aquascutum does not have Burberry's marketing engine. It does not have the check pattern that became a global status symbol. What it has is a waterproofing patent that predates Burberry by 2 decades and a trench coat built to the same functional standard. At this price, the coat is arguably the best pure value on this list. The heritage is deeper, the price is lower, the construction is equivalent. The only thing missing is the brand recognition, and brand recognition is exactly what this video is teaching you to see through. Macintosh. Founded in 1824 in Glasgow, Scotland, Charles Macintosh patented the rubberized waterproof fabric that bears his name in 1823. The Macintosh raincoat became so ubiquitous in Britain that the word Macintosh entered the English language as a generic term for any raincoat. 202 years of continuous production. The current factory operates in Cumbernauld, Scotland, where every coat is still made by hand using traditional bonded rubber construction alongside modern bonded cotton. A Macintosh trench coat costs between $1,200 and $2,000. The construction is fundamentally different from both Burberry and Aquascutum. Macintosh uses a bonded cotton technique, where 2 layers of fabric are fused with a layer of rubber or modern waterproof adhesive between them, creating a completely waterproof shell with no seam penetration. Every seam is sealed by hand with a hot iron, a process that takes an individual craftsman several hours per coat. At this price, Macintosh delivers genuine handmade Scottish manufacturing, a waterproofing method so effective it literally became the English word for raincoat, and a construction technique that no fashion house on the negative side of this list even attempts. The coat is built to keep water out, not to look like it might. 3 brands, 3 prices that correspond to what is inside the coat, not what is printed on the label. Burberry, the original, with the full functional specification intact, and the gabardine still woven in Yorkshire. Aquascutum, the older patent holder, with equivalent construction at a lower price and a heritage that most buyers have never heard of. Macintosh, the handmade Scottish option, with a waterproofing technique so definitive it became a word in the dictionary. The pattern is the same one we have traced across every category: suits, shoes, polos, dresses, and now trench coats. Heritage names selling simplified garments at heritage prices, and smaller focused manufacturers delivering the construction those names either abandoned or never had. The test has not changed. Pick up the coat, check the fabric composition on the label, look for the storm shield, feel the weight of the buttons, turn it inside out and examine the seam construction. The inside of a trench coat tells you everything the price tag was designed to make you stop asking about.